Today is about as innocuous as you can get. An underground car park for a big box hardware chain in the Auckland suburb of Greylouth. Had you been here in the middle of 1976, you would be employing a rather different usage of the term underground, when a group of homegrown dissidents secretly planned a bomb attack. Foiled only by their own ineptitude and bravado. New Zealand has a disturbing thing with bombs. This is the 6th video I've made featuring a homemade Kiwi bomb. The motivations to those stories now on your screen range from a lawyer-client relationship going pear-shaped, trying to ensure a local pub was kept open way past the statutory closing time, a depressed bloke who wanted to brighten his and the township's day by playing the Rainbow Connection 12 hours straight over the radio, anarchists who were good to their word, a farmer arguing over cow ownership. That last motivation being a nice segue into the factor behind this one: meat, the eating thereof. My experience with Hare Krishnas on my main centre streets will largely be much the same as that of my audience, regardless of where you are watching from. To start with, where had they been hiding for the last 5,000 years? Seemingly they popped up from nowhere in the early 70s. There's a good reason for this sudden appearance. An offshoot of the Hindu religion, they weren't even founded until 1966. Their founder, an Indian Swami, may have had home-based street cred, hoovering up hippies in search of a cause. Underneath, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness was formed in New York. This may go a long way to explain some capitalistic, non-esoteric sales tactics employed by the HKs. As the newspapers of the 70s attest, local councils in western cities were largely ill-prepared, regulation-wise, dealing with these high-volume proselytizers. The motivated street salesmen and women are selling anything from knock-off paintings as originals to tapes that purported to be by big-name artists that when you got home turned out to be nothing more than ghastly banging of drums and hand cymbals. When pushed, Hare Krishnas would claim the fallback. It was part of their devotional work, and these tactics were somehow in service of their religion only. That washed for a while, but it was inevitable after arrival into New Zealand in 1972. At some point, with the public and commercial complaints mounting, councils will be forced to do something to curb their enthusiasm. At one point, they were banned from chanting en masse in Cathedral Square in the centre of Christchurch. Fined for blocking Auckland footpaths and refusing to move. Told via the courts you need to obtain a Wellington City Council permit if you want to solicit for donations. Became the bane of botanical gardens up and down the land when Orange Road mobs would descend upon flower beds, stripping them bare. Anecdotally, these foot soldiers appear to have peaked late 70s, if my experience is anything to go by. Perhaps they've become more refined today. Their Christchurch HQ is certainly still there, and their float at the annual Christmas parade is a regular favourite. Like in other countries, the lifestyle rules and regs involved with becoming a Krishna devotee meant there was always going to be a bit of a rolling door membership-wise going on. 3 of their tenets getting closer to God being banning sex unless it was for procreation, strict vegetarian diet, and if those 2 weren't enough to drive you to drink, that was banned as well. The website for the International Society of Krishna Consciousness states alcohol, quote, blocks the spiritual process. Not the best turn of phrase, if you ask me. So whilst there were more going in the top of the sieve than dropping out, things were rosy and hunky-dory. medium to long term, it was, and always will be, a hard sell with such a high level of dedication and self-sacrifice required. The movement, therefore, was left to the hardcore, and two of those being 21 and 22-year-olds from Auckland. Our house stood on the site you saw at the beginning. Even then, it was positioned amongst commercial buildings. The term is probably best described as mixed zoning. A spitting distance from the very busy arterial Great North Road. This house had become a flat come squat for students, nondescript, apart from a large shed out the back, when out of nowhere came a huge explosion. Neighbouring windows were blown out, the shelves and palleting toppled, debris scattered over 150 metres, and police rushed to the scene. Dazed and inquisitive neighbours and passers-by left wondering what the F had gone on. It was immediately clear, not something good. I will read you out some of the reports from some of the witnesses, starting with Mrs. B. Fraser, who worked in the adjacent building.
I heard an almighty bang, followed by a plop, and then a small piece of body landed on the road. I looked further along the road. Although there was a car blocking my view, I saw a hand. I just screamed. I screamed to my boss, went out the back and looked out of the building. I saw streaks of blood across the place and bits and pieces of wood where the shed was.
Car yard owner Mr. J. Litherland told a similar harrowing recount to the reporter.
As I came around the corner, the first thing I saw was a human arm on the road. The hand had a wedding ring on it. I looked up the road 75 yards and there were bits of body strewn about. It looked like a bloody battlefield. I looked around and could see where the explosion had been. It was a terrific shock.
Enough to put anyone off their lentil casserole. The area was soon cordoned off by the police, who by now, figuratively and literally, had the gruesome task of piecing things together. 3 things were known within hours. The flat was occupied by members of the Hare Krishna movement. The epicentre had been what was left of the shed come DOS out the back of the main house. Key pieces of evidence had been located, aluminium fragments that had been from a pressure vessel, meaning, odds on, the police were now dealing with a bomb. 2 days later, the death toll was known, the names of the dead published. As to the motivation and target, or targets, the police had a good idea right from the get-go, plus the ringleader. After speaking to the sole surviving New Lynn flatmate, Stephen Stewart, as well as the old associates of David Bonner from his time in the Krishna commune in Northland. Commune members spoke of Bonner's love to experiment with explosives, from the conventional run-of-the-mill Molotov cocktail through to home-grown napalm, earning him the nickname at the commune, Dave the Bomber. In the house, police had also found a book on pyrotechnics in Bonner's room, as well as detonators and 2 suitcases of chemicals, pointing to there being more devices to come. The bomb that had detonated prematurely having contained a mixture of petrol polystyrene plus a cocktail of chemicals like potassium chlorate. Associates also spoke of how intense he could be, how 2 things in particular really riled him up. Societal injustices that he believed needed addressing. Abortion was one of those. Not, though, what the police and coroner determined was the target here, at least for bomb number 1, since his accomplice, Duncan Bennington, at least publicly, never broached the subject. On the other hand, they were united in their condemnation of their fellow Kiwis' disturbing habits of noshing into a steak, looking forward to pouring gravy onto lamb's legs. Bennington and Bonner both shared a mutual hatred of meat-eaters, purveyors of the products. They were going to strike at a large cog in the Meat is Murder network, the local meatworks. Needless to say, the media sought comment from the Hare Krishna organisation in New Zealand, and the public was left bemused that 2 members from a seemingly harmless, if not highly annoying, fringe religious group could be planning a bombing campaign. Questions went to the local HQ of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. They indicated that despite the robes and trappings, neither were registered members and just chanters, whatever that means. The best analogy I could come up with perhaps was they were gang prospects and not fully patched members. In essence, they washed their hands of their errant devotees, knowing full well this story would quickly go away. Which it did. More important topics soon took up space, like the opening of New Zealand's first McDonald's a month later. Probably why the incident got buried, soon forgotten. As I close this one out, try and now persuade you to spend another 12 minutes here watching that video I did on the Greymouth Beer Bombing campaign. No one has ever suggested the Hare Krishna organisation, NZ, movement colleagues, other friends in general, had any inkling what the twosome were planning. Their flatmate Stephen Stewart was highly disturbed to find out how close he had come to being collateral. Thank Christ that heinous music is over. Listen to the harmonium enough, I swear you can hear the poor souls wailing from hell. My favourite Hare Krishna movie character is now on your screen. A gold star in your school book to take home to Mum for those who can identify him or it. Bye for now.